Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah.
Hey everyone, before we begin this week's episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Okay, Bitpixi, welcome to the Matthew and Rizzle Show.
Hello, good to be here.
Really excited to talk to you and Voxels, formerly known as Cryptovoxels, and all that good stuff. But before we dive into that, I'm wondering if you could sort of introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your career, what you were doing, how you found like Web3, NFT land, and what brought you to to Voxels in the first place.
Wait,
Absolutely.
and your live work in progress, which is your hair.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I am dyeing my hair. It's bleached, and now I'm going to dye it purple. Voxels purple.
As we speak.
Yes.
Happening right now.
So how I got into Web3, I was in the Bay Area at the time. I was living in Oakland when I guess Bitcoin was beginning. And then when I heard about Ethereum has always been my favorite coin. I just want to say that. So like that, the fact I got an Ethereum tattoo on my arm, it's always been my favorite coin. Cause I saw its potential and I didn't know what it was going to do, but I was just like, I don't know, something about how you could do, a lot of transactions on it. People were already making like little games and like I saw the CryptoPunks, I played with the Mooncat stuff. I only actually bought in for CryptoKitties. And I was going to a ton of hackathons at the time because I thought I wanted to be a front-end developer. So I attempted to be a front-end developer. But I have an art school background. I'm just much better at, I like people, I like research, I like user flows, I like icons. So I found out that user experience and user interface design was a thing. It's what I ended up doing at all the hackathons and kind of directing the developers who were faster than me at coding. So it's what I'm still doing now. So I worked for a few big companies. Meitu is like the Chinese Snapchat. It has 450 million monthly active users. And that was a cool experience. That was mostly with selfies. And I found I really like the internet culture, visual expression. So my next company was a GIF company called Gfycat. And we redid the whole website. And I plan to do the same thing with Voxels coming up soon, now that we have another designer on the team this week. Her name is Sophie. She worked with Lexicon Devils in Cryptovoxels. So what I did with Gfycat was like it looked like our like Voxels looks now. It's just a little hard to navigate, a lot of rage clicking, very like no styles, very plain and white and disjointed, and some pages completely broken, right? So if you look at Gfycat.com now, you'll see it's this nice, sleek design. You can find everything, stuff is labeled, the navigation is good. It's a sleek, dark UI where we found people liked scrolling through GIFs on the darker UI. And yeah, so generally, like I have big plans for making Voxels awesome. We're not going to be as we don't want to be as like shiny and corporate as Sandbox or Decentraland. We want to keep that lo-fi, chill aesthetic and community. But we do want to make things work better.
Yo, I would love to hear, I know you've got some like really cool plans upcoming that you wanted to touch upon, but I would love to hear before we get to that, like just sort of how you fell into Voxels, Cryptovoxels in the first place, like your relationship with Ben. It's like, you know, you guys got like a really like funny, interesting dynamic going on like publicly. And yeah, we'd just love to hear sort of like how you fell into it.
Sure thing. So that was my UX design background, but how I actually found Voxels was the rare pizzas, pizza dough with snacks. I was in that room about nothing where he was like, what if pizza was free? And then it launched into this whole National Pizza Day or whatnot. And he said, I have land in Cryptovoxels. Can you build something on it? And I built like the pizzeria out, and I kept trying to get other people to build with me because I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I was the only one building, and I was coming from a New York University course on Unity. And I was like, you know, Unity game engine is so cool. I can deploy a world to my Oculus, and it's this amazing world. I can add teleports. I can throw stuff with my hands or do all this stuff. But it's hard. It was hard to do. And then I saw Voxels Builder. It was just so easy. It was like Minecraft. I could just, I don't know, think more about the vision than about too many details that Unity has. So I kept building in it and hanging out there, and then making wearables, being like, what's Magic of Voxel? Okay. Just like learning all this stuff and saving up. I was doing commissions for people, and I was like, I'll never be able to afford a parcel. So it's kind of good that I don't know, I just understand what new people are going through in the process. And then I felt like, oh, there's so many bugs. And with my background, I feel like I could help improve some stuff. So I applied. And then maybe 3 or 4 months later, Ben got back to my email like, hey, hi, I just saw this. Which is pretty classic Ben. He's what do you call it? Like a creative genius, I guess. A little bit scattered in waves. But yeah, so am I. So that kind of like so that's where the strong like cooperation and collaboration, and then maybe disagreements also come from. But I think it's all generally headed in the direction that we just both want a better product, want a better company, and we want people to hang out in it more, and we want stuff to run fast. So yeah, I liked the quirkiness. I think that that's what really separates voxels from some of the other metaverses. It's just the weirdness.
Yeah, I mean, the weirdness totally attracted me back in the day. Rizzle and I, we've been in Cryptovoxels for over 3 years, way back on Scent. Shout out Connie Digital was like the first artist that was on Scent at the time that really kind of like shouted out Cryptovoxels and kind of opened a lot of artists' eyes to the possibilities of just jumping in world, playing around with the then super janky editor to build out like galleries and stuff like that. It was really fun. You just hop in on your phone, regular web browser, very, very little barriers to entry. So it was like really easy to forgive all the jankiness and all that stuff. And then with the WIP Meetup, we've been doing that gatherings and everything for like over 2.5 years at this point, every Thursday. But I'm curious, like, what are your actual favorite parts about being in Cryptovoxels, and at the flip side, like what's still lacking? Like what are we missing heading forward?
Yeah. Well, one question I have been exploring through the creation of the various new islands, something that well, a small win is people used to say, how do I move? How are you flying? How do I see myself? And since adding the quick start guide on the left-hand panel that kind of shows a starting guide and keys, those questions have stopped. But there are other more important community questions, like how do we have a better, more bustling neighborhood? Or, hey, I bought this place, but my 3 neighbors haven't built anything for months, and this just looks not great. So I've been exploring theming the islands with the team, having some different like pre-builds on it. Like Flora, for example, we spawned random trees and stuff. But it still had the wireframe edges, so it still looks a little strange. So the next island, Fauna, we held our breath and like removed those wireframe edges, so it was like an open plain savanna. And it actually worked out. We only had one person complain, like, what's my parcel size? So we increased the visibility of the parcel size with a blue border outline when you are on parcel page, or you click your address when you're in world, so you can kind of see the outline better, but it's not like persistent. So another way we helped builders, or sorry, I'm getting to Architect Island, so I said builders. Architect Island is a concept where everything's already built out before, and there are permanent structures, like you would buy an apartment and move into it, so you can change all the stuff on the inside. You can put your car to the outside, but like you can't change the walls. So that's something we're exploring now. That was released yesterday for the first suburb in the south called Plan, and that's Lil Pat's and his architecture school and his buddy's architecture firm. So real architects building in the metaverse. And this will maybe solve that question, maybe not solve, but open even more questions, deeper questions regarding a bustling neighborhood and having things look nice. It works for people who spend time daily in the world, and it works for speculators who just want to buy the land and not do anything with it, because then they have this like nice structure already, and they don't have to go out and hire people or whatnot. And maybe later, Architect Island architects will become even more famous, like perhaps Lil Pat's will design some real life architecture and have a big name for himself, and then people who purchase those at this time, in the future, we'll have, that special build from a famous architect, something like that.
I'm creating like a more bustling Cryptovox or Voxels. Sorry, I keep slipping up with the name. What's your thesis on how we can achieve that? I'm really curious to hear that. As someone who's been putting on these events, like my thesis has been, you need more event holders, event designers, just more events that attract more people in world, and start to see like how bustling neighborhoods, plots, parcels can get. But I'm curious where your mind's at when it comes to getting more people in world more frequently, more reliably.
Yeah. So one thing we added recently was token gating parcels, and I have been experimenting with creating the tickets to the events, let's say. So what token gated parcel means is that you can close your parcel off unless someone owns, say, your one-of-one art, or they own a wearable, a certain hat, to get into the party. Or maybe it looks like an actual key. It can look like anything, but they have to own this NFT in their wallet, and then they will be able to enter the parcel like usual. Otherwise, it shows, you can kind of see in from a distance, but as you get closer, the parcel becomes more solid. Right now, I have no idea why it's a bright pink. That was not my choice. I said make it voxels purple, but I think the light shader may have accidentally turned it pink. But yeah, in the future, it will be very cool for people to choose that color and to style their VIP gate, essentially. So you can put stuff outside of it. This is what I've been experimenting with now. Tomorrow there will be a party on Pastel Island in, I don't know the exact time yet, just the afternoon of Eastern Standard Time. Perhaps. Yeah, I'll get more of that info to you later. Pastel Island party. It's at this pastel castle. So I have this whole Megavox castle that's covering that token gated pink thing. Oh, the castle's also pink. But yeah, if you own the pastel color coin, it works as the key. It's a wearable. It's based on oh my God, I can go into a whole rabbit hole about this, because you guys know what color coin is from back in the day.
Yeah, it was like the OG Cryptovoxels token that they were experimenting around with, and it was fun for a minute because we were able to throw it around briefly in world, but that ended up like breaking everything when we had lots of people trying to do it simultaneously.
Yeah, I heard it slowed down the whole world. So that's the second point about making things more with traffic, is that at a certain point of traffic, the world does break. You'll just get an error page. You can't log on. So scaling on the back end, and maybe we'll do sharding by region, because right now it's all on one server. So the whole world has to load, the whole server has to load while people are on. And when I say sharding, I don't mean the Decentraland way where you're in the same spot, but you can't see your friend, because that's weird.
That's the worst.
It would be more like
sharded.
Lonely sharded, yep.
It would be something you wouldn't really notice as a Voxelian. But if you're at the pastel party at the Pastel Castle tomorrow, maybe it would only load up Pastel on one server, and it would load the other islands on another server. And this way, if the party gets really huge on Pastel, it won't affect the other islands. So that's one idea that we're looking into. Because if you want more people logged on, first you have to have the technicals to be able to support people logging on.
I love the way you're like building this out. I just knew as soon as you came on, I was like, I don't like know exactly what you're doing, but I feel like Bitpixi gets it and is like here to like save us from like a lot of these little quirks and things. And it's cool to hear that you're like both working on streamlining the front end, but also thinking like big picture, like on the back end and like adding some like cool features. And thank God you're thinking about the sharding thing. Cool. Whenever you're ready for like Rizzle Block Island to like block it off by like Rizzle blocks, like, you know, maybe after you're done Architecture Island, it's cool that you're like, you know, implementing some things that like a lot of these Web3 platforms have been talking about for a long time. But I just feel like it's just been a lot of talk, honestly. You know, I would love to hear like, as someone, again, I feel like you get it, like zooming like way out, like where do you see like Metaverse stuff, Voxels going, how it fits into like the larger ecosystem, like, yeah, what's your like big zoom out premise? Or is there one? I mean, sometimes it's tough as quickly as the space moves, right?
No, I have a big vision, but it might take some years. So you know how computers used to be as big as a room? And now we have a little computer on all of our phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I feel like as hardware advances, we can escape the shiny flat rectangle and 2D websites, and more websites will be interactive in a 3D way. So Voxels is pretty forward thinking in that when you're buying the real estate, you're in a way it's like buying web hosting, like bringing someone to your store on a 2D page, but it's in a 3D experience where you can also see people and get their reaction and express yourself and chat and all this stuff. So I feel like that will be more of the future of the internet. And it won't be bulky headsets. It will be something much smaller. I don't know about the whole eye contacts thing, but you know, some kind of device in front of our face where we can be hands free. Maybe even without holding a hand controller, because it could detect your muscle movements. So we could have a new keyboard of gestures, essentially. We're still using the QWERTY keyboard, which is like a typewriter keyboard. I think QWERTY keyboard was established because the typewriter keys would get stuck in a certain way if it was in alphabetical. I can't exactly remember, but it's hard to change. It's hard to change people's patterns. So I think this will happen slowly, and it's pretty fascinating to me that Ben has gotten into creating a side project called Focus or Foxus, Foxus.
Yeah.
What it does is it attaches to a VR headset and it creates pass-through. So he's created mixed reality. He doesn't even know that word, mixed reality. He's been saying augmented reality, but it's actually mixed reality. And that's, so in a way, like his crazy brain is sort of aligning with mine on the big long-term vision of the internet. So that's why I want to stay with Voxels for many years if I can. And so, yeah. Wild answer, but.
No, thinking about.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Rizzle.
No, it's just really interesting to talk to people who are deep enough in this industry to sort of be able to see the forest through the trees. And I've actually had similar thoughts about the keyboard and that, like, how fast I can type. I'm like, is this going to be like antiquated technology by the time, my kid is my age? Like, are they really going to have to learn how to type on this thing that's like a, sort of a dinosaur like way of interacting with technology? So no, that's to hear your take on it is really cool. And I agree. We've got to move beyond this at some point, but people's habits are hard to change.
Right. Yeah. I think there's there is slow adoption for things like VR headset. I don't even like to use it because it still makes me a bit dizzy. The total immersion thing is a bit weird. I can't see if my kid's about to fall down the stairs, You want to kind of be able to step into the fairy ring, so to speak, but be able to get out. So I think that's where being able to see the world around you while you are also in the digital world will become important. So yeah, things we can't even imagine now that will change with the hardware will actually affect the software as well. Mm-hmm.
Totally. And going back to like that mental model that you're describing with like builds and parcels in these virtual worlds like voxels as being like 3D websites, using that sort of analogy for folks, kind of you see a light bulb go off in front of people's or above people's heads. They're like, oh, then they start thinking of this, like they see the utility in addition to like having a space where you can actually have these virtual experiences and create virtual memories that are just as visceral and vivid in your mind in retrospect as any other experience in real life. And sort of like pulling on that thread, since you're putting on events too, it's really cool to see. I love to have more events in voxels. And like you said, tomorrow, Thursday, like May 26th for listeners, the pastel party is going to get kicked off. The architect party on Architect Island, I guess, is slated. You were saying earlier before we started recording on the 7th of June. But
yeah, that would be the 7th of June. Another time that's tentative. So yeah, the one tomorrow on Pastel will be with Chad XP, and he'll be with Raven in an LA studio. So that will be cool. And then the one June 7th will be with Purpletariat, aka tipyourdj.eth, very clever ENS name. And his friends, like maybe it's Rel or DJ Heat or Alpaco. So that will be pretty cool. I love having the live streaming music. Currently, we do that through YouTube or Twitch or Boombox from any tab. And I added the ability for Boombox for people to not like interrupt the Boombox. And we added that for Shepard Fairey. Shepard Fairey is a very famous graffiti artist. He's got a spot on Satoshi Island, and he does the Obey giant poster, the Obama poster. But apparently he also does like DJing stuff, and he didn't want to use YouTube or Twitch. He wanted to just be like a personal thing. So yeah, we also have Boombox for that.
That's awesome.
Bitpixi, I got to tell you our solution. Go ahead, Matt. Someone should tell Bitpixi like our creative solution to the Boombox being able to be interacted with by anyone.
Yeah, we have to put someone in the box so they're monitoring it and no one else can find the Boombox. That was like our janky early
That's what you had to do.
Yeah, we would like create a closet or like a little box for our audio guy. Dragonade, shout out
Dragonade, yeah.
But now I'm free.
Yeah, it worked too because no one could find it. It was hidden effectively, and he was the only one that was like piping in the audio for everything.
That's very The Sims. I don't know if you've ever tortured a Sims before. You put him in a box.
Yeah, we still reference it, obviously, like right now, but we still thank Dragonade for his services in the box for so many shows at the Whip.
My pleasure.
But
Yeah,
I wanted
thanks
to
for
ask you,
having me.
like, personal memories from Voxels, from any of these virtual events. Like, I have a lucky, blessed to have a large number of like memories that we've created here, and like explaining that side of things to people, I've always found very fascinating and eye opening. But I'm just curious, like, if you're looking back in your history of events and like meetups and gatherings in Voxels, what's like the top memory?
Top memory. Oh my gosh. Let me think. Okay, so for me, I do like the music events because if I'm really stressed out, I can just, I don't know, go there, and watching my avatar dance so fluidly, even when in real life I have a spine issue, is actually just so calming. You can project yourself into like feeling like your avatar, that everything's like safe and nice and fun. So yeah, any music event is pretty stress relieving. I was always impressed with the Bitlectro Labs ones. They threw some crazy big parties with a large space. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, but also just sort of getting stuff off of your chest. So if there's some kind of theme you're struggling with or working through, doing a build around that is just also very stress relieving. Yeah, so I have a son, he's 1.5 years old, and he has his own wallet or whatnot. So I've made a time capsule parcel for him to kind of show off all of the stuff I'm collecting for him. But I also had in the parcel, it's not there right now because I moved it, I'm rebuilding it, but like a video of his late father who passed away. It's okay if I talk about this. He passed away in an unjust police raid at 4:30 a.m. when we were sleeping.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, and I was pregnant at the time. So I was kind of making collecting videos and photos of his dad. So if there's a day when he's a teenager and he's really upset or misses his dad, what I'll do is I'll like give him this parcel and all these NFTs and his wallet with some Ethereum in it as well. Hopefully the price will go up. And it will also have like a lot of pictures and stuff and videos of his dad. So I think that would be like a nice gift for him when he's a teenager. It's a Rise time capsule. Yeah.
After like the I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard that a million times, but like, what a fucking tragedy. After like a lot of money passed away, and there was like that big ceremony for him that like, Brooke Hawk had like built this like giant tribute parcel to him. That like I think really brought home like how like real this shit can be, and like how like this virtual environment can like just generate like a lot of like incredibly sentimental feelings and like become like a very, very real part of people's lives. So I appreciate you sharing that, but like also like appreciate you being a builder within the space who's like actively like interacting with the platform and like using it for like some real cool purposes that like aren't necessarily even on other people's radars. I feel like especially in this big hype cycle, it's just like so lacking across like all of these a lot of what has become like companies just like hiring out for people who aren't even really familiar with the product. They have like good track records within like, gaming or Web 2 or like, some other stuff. But like, the fact that you are like actively out here, like tinkering, like improving, like using it for cool stuff is just like, again, I'm not like trying to totally like fanboy you, but I'm like, dude, thank God that Bitpixi is like exactly who we needed, like, like in this spot. Go ahead, Bitpixi. I know you said you had something to say. I was had another comment as well, but yeah,
Yeah, when you mentioned the a lot of money memorial build as well as tours of his work in Voxels, and there was also a dance party event. People, that what I was saying about, my son's father, like it's the same feeling, like people coming together and celebrating a life, and just a lot of feelings happening, and being able to be expressed on a 3D virtual world in a way that you may not be able to, like, fly everyone out to a funeral, or you may not be able to achieve the same thing on, like, a Zoom call. That would be, I don't know. I'm sure some people do, but yeah, there's just something about being able to express yourself that's so strong with Voxels. And a lot of money was going to be one of the architects on Architect Island. He was planning to work in Ogar's section of all the OG builders. But yeah, he passed away before we could get the stuff on the map. So what they have done in that section is they took the last voxel he created. I believe it was the last one he created and published. It was like a self-portrait 32 by 32 in the Wizard X collection. And we've placed it in some of the gardens with some really amazing, like, floating frames around it and flowers, and I'm trying not to cry.
No, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So beautiful. Yeah. So
say something.
Gosh.
I'm choked up over here. I mean, this is like the beauty of the whole thing, right? I feel like, and honestly, I've given a lot of thought. I feel like so many of, like, the old builders and creators within the space, like, have this type of attachment with, like, voxels, maybe not in the exact same type of way, but just in terms of, like, there's just so much history within the space. So many things have happened, like, way before, like, we just got flooded with so many people coming into the space. And it just, it makes me feel like, despite all of its, like, quirkiness, bugginess, like, it's not the most refined graphics or whatever, but I'm like, it's so far out in front, just in terms of, like, that culture within the space is just so anchored so deeply in there that, like, I don't know, I'm just sort of rambling, but I really feel like, a lot of other things have taken the spotlight, but at the end of the day, like, when we do stuff, when big events happen, like, all those old builders and creators, like, seem to always flock back to Cryptovoxels for those things. And it's cool to see, like, despite all the hype and everything, like, that community has remained and seems to be getting bigger, like, as time goes on.
Yeah, the hardcore fans that basically inform how we continue to develop the product and add new features, or make building tools easier, like adding gizmos, for example, so you can just drag stuff across the screen instead of having to change it with arrows or a number, something like that. It's really good, because the other metaverses, they get a lot of hype and a lot of sales, but some of them are just a small isolated demo. Like, they haven't actually been able to achieve the utility and the builder tools that we have, or even like promoting, being able to say, hey, there's an event at this time, and the event goes onto the homepage, and screenshots people take go onto the homepage that you can teleport right into. You can send a link, someone can go right on their mobile phone, or their headset, although that's not perfect. Or web. I mean, it's just more accessible, I think, and it's a freemium model, which is different than the other metaverses, where, like, The sandbox, for example, I had land at the time of this application. It was maybe worth like just their smallest land, maybe $16,000 at the time. I applied to be able to mint wearables through their specific software, VoxEdit, which is proprietary software.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent in like a whole portfolio of examples. And I was like, I don't know, people know me. I love Vox. It's my favorite file format. But they turned me down and they turned all my friends down. I was like, who did they accept? So yeah, I like that. We're trying not to gatekeep like that. Anyone can go to an event. Anyone can make a free space. Anyone can build in a parcel that's been sandboxed. Although the features are a little bit more limited, yeah, you can just try it. You try it. You don't have to buy anything. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, y'all and Ben and team have helped create and turn Voxels into a living, breathing place, right? Where there's culture and people are excited about it and they have fond memories of it. It just like a real city. It goes in like booms and sometimes busts depending on like the build cycles and the general like sentiment of folks and tools available and like the overall like stability of the project. But like it's alive, which is more than we can say for a lot of these other projects that feel rather stilted, or they're still in like the land selling phases for like years and years and years. It's kind of weird. But yeah, hats off to what y'all have been able to create. Sort of a tangent, but like pulling on Ben's like weird, wacky tendencies to focus and build all the time.
Yeah.
What's up with YoFolk and that sort of like social network that Ben has created? How is that going to be like linked closely with Voxels? I know there is that like announcement of an airdrop, and then you're like, hey, if you didn't do the airdrop, you probably shouldn't announce the airdrop for like Voxel wearable owners or whatever. So like, what's the relationship with YoFolk and Voxels heading forward? Do you know?
Yes and no. So how YoFolk started was Ben was on vacation and he likes to code on vacation. So I don't really know how he was starting with the idea. Maybe it was the talk of the Elon Musk buying Twitter or something. But he was thinking about decentralized type of social networks, or maybe I don't know. He's thinking about social networks. So he built was basically like a chat or blogging, like mini blogging. He also loves vlogging, video logging. So you can have a private profile or public profile, and you can post your picture or vlog or blog, and people can comment on it. It's in reverse chronological order. There's no like algorithm thing. It's very simple. And then you can tip people for their posts. So the tipping mechanism is where Folk came from. I think he wanted to call it Hey Fam originally, because he always says Hey Fam, but that was taken or something. So YoFolk was another like gender neutral way of saying that. So Folk, F-O-L-K, became the token for the tipping mechanism. And it was not supposed to cross over to Voxels. Benji Failure, Failure as he calls it,
yep.
As he calls himself, Ben had set Benji as the like product lead for Voxels to decide how things are going to look and what's the roadmap and this and that. So Benji said, anything, our roadmap is awesome. We're working on great things, but please don't overlap folk and YoFolk and Voxels. But then that happened. So Ben wanted to test the airdrop. So for people with parcels and who have created a costume, they should receive like a couple dollars worth maybe of folk. But he noticed that it kept getting stuck. So he was running it on, I think, Polygon. But because of the high traffic, I don't know if he set like custom high gas or something, or why it keeps timing out. But some people got their airdrop and some people didn't. And he is actively working on that. And yeah, he said that you can sell it if you want. You can use it for tipping. You can save it. And that maybe in the future, there would be ways to use it inside of Voxels. So what that means is that it has overlapped, and I don't know. It's really an unknown. Like maybe he's mentioned some idea about using it to buy wearables. He's mentioned something about leaving a tip jar in a parcel, so you could tip someone even if they're not there. Like right now, you can right click on someone, you could send them Ethereum, you could send them Matic, you could send them a wearable if they're in your parcel. But like maybe it would be a persistent tip jar feature or something. It's unknown, but this isn't like how the other part of the team wanted to roll out a token. We do like the idea of tokenomics and governance, and that's why I was kind of studying it with Scarcity Island and how we could like create voting mechanisms and something like a town hall person, or like you could vote to change the road color, or vote to change the weather, or how far people can build out, or maybe the community decides on a problematic neighbor instead of going to the moderators. Like we want people to be able to have the power for themselves and to code that in and make that part of a token type of ecosystem eventually. So yeah, we're a little bit unclear if we would use folk for that, or if it will just be a small social network site that Ben ends up open sourcing, like completely open sourcing, and just seeing what people do with that website. So yeah, that's the status on folk.
I just have this like most hilarious picture in my head. Like we all sort of need Ben's like creative genius side of him, but like the rest of the team seems like they're just constantly trying to like wrangle him in and like get a sense of like where he's headed with like all these ideas and everything. But it's cool. It's a funny dynamic to sort of see from the outside.
It's actually I think I'm starting to get it now, and I know I had a week of being very stressed, and but he's going to do his thing. Like no one can stop him, and that's why we don't. It's a good thing because that's why we don't have like outside VC investors turning everything super corporate and stuff like that. Which I like the wild and craziness, but we do need to row in the same direction sometimes. So what I figured out is that Ben's going to do what he's going to do. And then what we should do is just roll with it and to build a cool stuff around that. So yeah, I guess that might lend itself towards saying that maybe I would become comfortable with implementing folk usage inside of Voxels. We just all have to get on the same page as far as what people actually want. Because I know originally it's just like there was the color token, and the world was black and white, and you had to buy color to make the colorful blocks. But then the world just looked better with all color. I guess at some point he did a buyback program. He would buy back the color token and make the whole world colorful. So yeah, we want to build something with utility and that lasts. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with folk.
Yeah, the fact that like nobody really knows definitely like makes it pretty exciting. Nobody knows but Ben, and who knows if Ben knows? It's a mystery to all of us. Bitpixi, one of the things we always like to do as we get sort of towards the end here is like sort of an intrusive shakedown of people's Web3 wallets, and just genuinely interested. I know you're out here, like outside of Voxels. Do you collect other projects or artists? Is there anything like specifically that you're really interested in that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what you're currently working on?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So yeah, I don't really know if I have a theme to what I collect, because I'm pretty diversified. Like I do get some one-of-one black and white photography that I collect from people, some one-of-one art or songs. I've been kind of into lately, because I work with like some DJs and producers and stuff. They created Wild Party DAO, and there's the most ugly like weed buddies that it's like a collage.
I think one of those ended up under one of my posts, or so. You might have posted it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, they look terrifying. They're like polymorphs or like super yetis or something. They look really bad, but so bad that it's good. So I had bought like a Yucca Labs other side land, and I put this ugly little Wild Party DAO weed guy on the land and was like, look, it's a coda. So yeah, as you can see, I'll just collect from some bigger name things, one of ones, utility type tokens like this. It grants what is it called? I don't fully understand the music industry, like with ownership and stuff, but you get some kind of rights to their work and some money whenever the DJ or producer makes some money. So things with utility, things with games, things that just look cool, things that look terrible, that could be a meme. I love Super Yeti.
Sounds about
right. Things that could be redeemed for like in real life toys. I've gotten some of those for my kid, and I know that Fly Frogs works on some toys that you work with. Just all kinds of random stuff, man. Like I like witchy woman things. I like things with pastel colors. Oh man, it's just such a range. I like weird looking avatars. I like wearables for avatars. I like checking out other metaverses. Like Southside City is kind of interesting to me. I don't know why I'm always plugging that. They call themselves like the GTA of metaverses because they supposedly won't have any rules. We'll see, because moderation like ends up having to be a little bit of a thing sometimes. But yeah, they're like no rules. You can do all the mature rated whatever. So be interested to see how they handle that, because Voxels does not allow for not safe for work or like violence, or you can't really die in the game essentially. Like you don't get hurt if you would fall off a roof. You just kind of fly and like land down. And I like that. I like that cozy, safe stuff. But I'm trying to like push my limits and see, just see how people, like different people and cultures, create things in different virtual spaces, and the different audiences that it might attract. And yeah, like how will kids use virtual spaces in the future? Yeah, just so many questions. I have so many questions, and that's why I have thousands of NFTs. There's a ton that are hidden. You could probably see about 800 in my wallet and maybe 100 in my kid's wallet. But I have thousands that are hidden.
Amazing. What was the name of that GTA Metaverse project?
Southside City.
Southside City. I'm gonna go check that out. Amazing.
Yeah, they're building in Unity. I think it'll be a downloadable client. They have some stuff. I see them actively working, and you can jump into a little bit of a demo. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Definitely check that out. And then before we wrap up, just make sure you let folks know where they can follow you at. I know we already mentioned some of the upcoming events in Cryptovoxels. If you figured out the times or anything like that, yeah, just let folks know where to be when.
Totally. So tomorrow, Pasto Castle, early afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, probably. And then on Architect Island, June 7th, maybe 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that is, yeah, I will update on my Twitter. So what you should do, you should follow me on Twitter at Bitpixi, Bitpixi. And then you can go get all the updates, the links to directly teleport in, times, and I'm always doing giveaways like for people who come to stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, all about the giveaways, especially wearable giveaways, clothing the metaverse, doing the Lord's work. Amazing. Well, Bitpixi, thank you so much for your time chatting with us today, diving into all the cool things you're doing with voxels as you're dyeing your hair voxel purple. Absolutely.
I know. I think it's over dyeing. I need to hop in the shower.
Well, we'll let you go, but I just want to thank you so much and just keep on doing your thing and creating and spreading the good vibes in the metaverse.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Later.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this week's episode. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter, and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.